Hi everybody, I'm Susan Gray, your host for this edition of Book Talk. Today we're talking with Lawrence Block about his new book, Burglar on the Prowl. Lawrence, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Susan.
Lawrence Block, a Mystery Writers of America Grand Master, is four-time winner of the Edgar Allan Poe and Shamus Awards, as well as a recipient of prizes in France, Germany, and Japan. Nice audience. He has authored more than 50 books and numerous short stories. Lawrence is a devoted New Yorker and enthusiastic world traveler. Well, Lawrence, I'm so glad that you're with us today on the Library Channel, and I was wondering what made you decide to make a tour of libraries?
It was it was just an idea I had. I get invitations to speak at libraries periodically, and usually the fee that I have to charge is higher than the library budget, and so it usually doesn't work out unless it's local, in which case I can do it at a discount. And I thought, it occurred to me that if I could fit library speaking engagements into the fabric of a book tour, I could do them for a vastly reduced rate. So I floated that idea in a newsletter that I get out, an email newsletter, and figuring I'd get 2, maybe 3 responses, and that would enhance the next tour somewhat. And I got 20 responses virtually by return mail. Oh. And it snowballed from there, so that at present I'm in about a third way of the way into a tour that will take me, by the time I'm done, to 45 libraries around the country.
And we're so grateful that you decided to make us a part of your tour. Let's give our audience some background on Bernie Rhodenbarr, the main character in your Burglar series, of which the latest book is Burglar on the Prowl, because he's been doing a lot of things before he's in this scenario. So bring us up to speed on Bernie.
Sure, he's been burgling, or I've been writing about his burgling since 1977, when Burglars Can't Be Choosers was published. And there have been, this is the 10th book, and this is the first since 1999, it's The Burglar in the Rye. So it's been a little while that Bernie's been inactive, but he doesn't change much. People can start the series at any point. People ask if they have to read the books in order, and there's really no need to. I wrote them in order, but I didn't really have any choice.
Yeah. Well, what's Bernie up to in Burglar on the Prowl?
Well, he's doing a favor for a friend. And the favor consists of burgling the home of an acquaintance who is emphatically not a friend of Bernie's friend.
Right.
So it's revenge motivated the friend to set this up. Bernie's motivation is partly a desire to help a friend, and partly, of course, that old standby of greed.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah, that's half. Well, Bernie has a friend who gives him some help, some backup, some support. Tell us about Carolyn, and how did she come to know about Bernie, his burgling?
Yeah, his best friend. Carolyn Kaiser is a lesbian who owns a poodle grooming shop 2 doors down the street from Bernie. And in the 3rd book of the series, The Burglar Who Liked to Quote Kipling, that's when we meet Carolyn for the first time, and that's when Bernie has the bookstore for the first time. And the relationship has just been a delight to write, because you get this man-woman balance, but they're not interested in each other that way, so they can be best friends, and it's just great fun to write about. In one of the books, Carolyn prevails upon Bernie to take her along as his hench person, for example, and so it's. And
why was it that he was not afraid to tell her about the burgling? He meets her, he likes her, they're friends, and then he tells. Why?
Well, I don't really know, because that chapter's closed to me. It happened between books 2 and 3. So when the third book started, she already knew.
Oh, that was clever.
Yeah.
That was clever.
Clever of him.
Yeah.
I can't take any credit.
No, I'm sorry. That's Bernie, not you.
That's right.
I told you I was going to get you mixed up.
Yep.
Well, I sense that you had a lot of fun with names. Bernie's friend, Marty Gilmartin, who he's doing the favor for.
Yes.
Marty Gilmartin. And then Maris.
Right.
What inspired you to have fun with those names, or did they just pop up?
It just happened. Marty Gilmartin, we met in an earlier book. Bernie met him because Bernie stole his collection of baseball cards and the burglar who traded Ted Williams. You might not think that that's a great foundation for a friendship, but in this instance it turned out to be.
Yeah.
And Marisol Maris, the plot required that, that this particular character have a Latvian father and a Puerto Rican mother. So
tricky.
Yes.
Very tricky.
Yeah.
And there's your Marisol Maris.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to say for you out there who love words that Bernie has a lot of wordplay in his book, and it's just so fun. And I don't know how to describe it except that it's like indecency. You know it when you see it. And we just, all of us word people, just thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
I was not sure that a burglar could win any affection or approval from me, frankly. When I picked it up, I went, oh, a thief. But then immediately, when I started the book, I forgot my objections. What was the reaction from your editor when he first heard you were going to write a burglar as your main character?
Well, the first one was so long ago that it's hard to remember, but I know that the first publisher who saw Burglars Can't Be Choosers snapped it up and didn't seem to object to the fact that it was a burglar.
Well, he's a gentleman thief.
He is.
And he's a bookstore owner. Just on the bookstore thing alone, I was good with him.
Yeah.
Right off. Yeah, that worked for me. Well, I wanted to know, because the ending was such a surprise to me, how you pulled all that together. And I wanted to know if you wrote it first or wrote the other part first, because I couldn't figure out which would be easier to weave together.
I don't outline or plan much, so it's a little like driving without a road map at night with no headlights, actually.
You don't know where you're going to end up.
No, I don't really, and it's not that I have any aversion to the idea of planning, it's just that I'm not capable of it.
Right.
So one way or another it works out, and here it was an extremely elaborate plot, and I couldn't have thought that up in advance, so it worked itself out.
Very good, very good. Now, how long has it been since you've written a Bernie the Burglar book?
Well, the last one was in '99, so it's been 5 years.
It hasn't been that long. And what made you go, time for Bernie again?
I don't know. It's they're not decisions I make as a result of thought. It's just what bubbles up.
Okay, so how many books are in the Burglar series?
10.
10. And I just wanted to remind our audience that getting an author and reading them through, and you can do it out of order, I like to do that over the summer, is such a fun way to get to know an author's works and his lead characters. So that's always a great thing to do.
Yeah, I would be perfectly fine with the people, going out and buying all of the books right now and reading them. That would be okay.
I was nervous about bringing that up, but now I feel better. All right, so Bernie, what's the thing that he was doing in the last book?
In the last book, he was stealing something again. I mean, morally, he's, a little bit
defective.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he was stealing some letters written by a writer who might remind some people of J.D. Salinger.
Oh, and that's
Therefore, The Burglar in the Rye, yes.
Very good, very good. All right. Well, I was in the library just browsing not long after I agreed to do the interview, and I found 2 of your books about the writing process, which you've written 6, and we'll talk a little bit more about them later.
Sure.
The one that I read already is Write for Your Life. I did all of the exercises in that and thought it was delightful, and realized that not only could it help you shake your writing up if you're trying to write and get some freedom and some juice going there, but that those exercises are wonderful for a lot of different things.
Yes.
How did you come to put that together, and tell us about Write for Your Life?
Well, it was a seminar that my wife and I put on for several years in the mid-'80s. We did it for about 3 or 4 years. And it worked wonderfully well. It was based on the premise that that it isn't a lack of data that keeps people from writing effectively, but various beliefs they have about themselves that limit them, and other things like that. So that the book, it might have been called The Inner Game of Writing. It's that sort of thing that focuses on the writer, not the work.
Yeah, oh, that was so great. Well, I loved the one about I have a fear of, or I have a fear
yes.
about my writing about, and then you say thank you. That was just so helpful because immediately I could just feel the fear going.
It's a great process.
Yeah,
sure.
it is. And so I highly recommend that. It's in our library. I'm sure it's in yours too.
It may not be. It was. I printed it privately, and we sold out an edition of 5,000 copies, but it was mainly to people who bought it to read it, so it didn't get into the aftermarket, and with rare exceptions, it didn't get into libraries. I'm going to reprint it eventually when I can get it together, but it may be hard for people to find.
Right, right. Well, okay, you were doing seminars. I want to know what got you into the seminar mode, because most authors, I don't think, do seminars.
Well, I'd taken some in the general human potential movement thing, and I realized how a lot of the material that I'd come across there could adapt itself specifically to writing and address things that never got addressed in writing courses.
Yeah.
And that's how we got into it. How we got out of it is that I know that a lot of people do seminars, and it works in that. And these worked, and that people liked the seminar and seemed to profit from it and everything. But we figured out that if we valued our time at much more than 5 cents an hour, we were losing money on this.
No, I was afraid you were going to say that, because it sounds like so much fun. It's a shame that you couldn't capitalize a little bit more on the financial end.
Also, Susan, after a while, it began to feel a little too much like performance.
Canned.
And, you know, I didn't want the writing guru trip or any of that, and it was enough, you know.
Yeah.
But we did have a good time doing it.
Well, it's just a wonderful book, and I'm going to read some of the other ones when I get out of school this summer, and I'm looking forward to that. You self-published Write for Your Life?
Yes.
Now, that was back in the mid-'80s, and you know, self-publishing back then was, oh, well, you don't self-publish. There was sort of a stigma around it. What made you decide to go that route?
I didn't care about a stigma. What I wanted was to be able to sell the book in conjunction with the seminar.
Oh.
And thus I wanted copies in a hurry.
Right.
So I got a production guy from one of the publishing houses to supervise this for me and get a printer and everything. And that way I had copies in a couple of months instead of in a year. And it worked fine, and we just did our own distribution and did it you know, directly as retail.
Right, during the seminars.
During the seminars and
perfect.
through the mail.
Yeah,
Yep.
very good. Do you still think that it's a useful way to go on some kinds of things?
It depends. I don't think, I think it's a great way to have books that you can give to your friends. It's a great way to produce books of abiding local interest that you can distribute yourself to local stores, but people who think that they can self-publish with one of the print-on-demand houses and that the book will really be in stores and they'll sell a lot of copies, I think that's unrealistic.
Well, I'm so glad you said that, because we had an author earlier who had done that, and it just sounded like, oh, this could be the way to go. Don't worry about going through a publishing house. So a little warning there is probably in order.
It makes as much sense. If you're a poet, it may be as good a way to do it as anything else, because nobody's going to pay you any money anyway, and it's going to be very hard to get published, with rare exceptions.
Right.
There are lots of things about it, and I think the print-on-demand houses have taken a lot of the odium off self-publishing, and it's as opposed to the vanity houses that existed to take money from the writer.
Right.
The print-on-demand houses don't cost you much, and it's very easy to do it.
True.
But it's not usually any way you're going to get rich.
Right, because their marketing is not anything like the big publishing houses.
It can't
be.
It's
impossible.
They take on virtually everything.
Right.
And you can get published, but you know, the best of luck.
Well, if you've just joined us, this is Book Talk, and we're talking with Lawrence Block about his new book, Burglar on the Prowl. You have used pen names in the past, and I was wondering what some of them are, because I don't know what they are, and what reasons an author would choose to use a pen name.
Well, two pen names that I acknowledge are Chip Harrison and Paul Cavanaugh, and those I used, it was a long time ago, and the precise reasons escape me by now, but the 3 books as Paul Cavanaugh and 4 books as Chip Harrison have since been reprinted under my own name.
Oh, very good.
There were other pen names that I used for work that I regarded at the time as inferior and that I don't acknowledge.
That works for me. You got your first job in publishing working in the mailroom of a New York publishing house, and then reading from the slush pile for a literary agent later. That just sounds like the American, it sounds like a novel plot. I started in the mailroom. So there's so much romance to that. But honestly,
Well,
it was a good start for you,
well,
and you had some benefit out of that.
the job in the mailroom, probably, I don't know what exactly I got from that, except an understanding of the importance of alphabetical order and things like that.
And you were in the building.
I was in the building, and indeed, that was I went to Antioch College, and that was a co-op job that they had available. So I did that for whatever it was, 3 months, one summer, and then a job that was enormously helpful was as a reader editor, I suppose, at a literary agency that made a lot of money by reading, soliciting fees from unestablished writers, and I was one of the people who read tons of manuscripts every week and wrote these long, encouraging letters.
Bless your heart. Those
No,
poor people.
Those poor people. Well, we encouraged them to send in another manuscript with another fee. But I was young.
I forgive you, Bernie.
Okay.
Well, you said you read a lot of really bad manuscripts, and I'm sure that's true no matter who's collecting manuscripts.
Yeah.
What were some of the do you remember some of the common things that you saw that you went, oh, no wonder this isn't going to work?
No, you would just, well, first of all, on that slush pile, something like 99 out of 100 manuscripts you were going to return. So the odds were
pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. And also, usually, once you looked at the first page, you could tell whether or not the person could write.
Well, that's a fascinating thing.
Yeah.
Does it have to do with just literary skill and technical things, or is it about the hook, or what?
I don't know how to put it, but like that indecency you were talking about, you know right away.
That's right. Oh my gosh. Well, are you still writing short stories?
Yes, not terribly often, but I just had, I guess it was a year or two ago, I had a collection published, an omnibus collection of 83 stories written over the years. That's right.
Oh, very good.
Called Enough Rope.
Enough Rope. Oh,
more than enough rope, I suspect.
That's so like you. Have you been with the same publishing house all this time? I already know the answer, but I want to know when a writer knows it's time to go.
Well, I've been with William Morrow and with Arbor House before that, which was incorporated into William Morrow quite a while ago, since 1975. So so it's been a long time. I've been a couple other places as well in between, but I've been fairly continuous with William Morrow for that long. I think well, they've been publishing Sidney Shelton even longer than that, but either of us have more seniority there than anybody who works for the company.
That's incredible. I'm just so surprised about that. You've said in a past interview that you go pretty seamlessly from one series to another when you decide to change. What accounts for that? Do you have any idea why you can do that?
Well, I know Bernie somewhere in this book says that as with locks and things like that, it's a gift, and I would suspect that this may be. I just have no trouble with the voice. I know somewhere inside what each of those characters sounds like, and it's not. I don't have to expend any effort to get into the voice.
How wonderful is that? Boy, that's enviable. A while back, and I think probably a long time ago, you took a year off of writing. Now, when I read that, I went, oh my God, he might not be able to write anymore after that. Did you have fears about not being able to write? Why did you do it? What happened when you started writing again?
I'm not sure it was a full year, but it was certainly close to it. And it didn't make that much difference. And actually nowadays my work pattern has evolved to the point where I generally take the better part of the year off from writing.
That's because you love to travel.
Partly,
Yeah.
that's certainly a factor.
Yeah.
But I also like to write books at writers' colonies and just go there, closet myself, and write a book in somewhere between 1 and 2 months.
Right. What is a writer's colony, and why is it a good choice for you?
A writer's colony, and a general description is difficult because there are probably 12 to 20 of them in the U.S., and they're all different because they've all evolved spontaneously. But it's a place where they furnish a place to live and a place to work. Sometimes it's a large room, so it's the same place. Sometimes it's a separate studio. And they also, they'll have anywhere from, well, in one case only 1 to, maybe 2 or 3 dozen writers and graphic artists in residence at the same time. And dinners are generally communal, and the rest is either you get on your own or it's brought to you or something like that, depending on where you are. And you have as much or as little contact with other people as you want.
That sounds marvelous.
And I usually don't have much contact with people because and most people I know who go there to work. So I'll work from when I get up until the dinner hour, 6 or 7 days a week, and frequently work evenings as well. So I don't see a whole lot of people.
Do you do a whole book during that time?
That's when it works well, yes.
How long has that taken generally?
A month to 6 weeks usually.
That's a pretty good thing.
Yeah.
Well, is it really expensive?
Oh no. They're all endowed to one degree or another, so it's very inexpensive. If you're doing well professionally, it's customary to make a donation on top of that, certainly. But for people who aren't, it's very reasonable.
That sounds like a great experience. Do you ever let editors tell you, Lawrence, this is what we want you to work on next?
No, it doesn't work for me. I'm spoiled. I have to be excited about what I'm doing, or it doesn't get written.
Yeah.
So
in the past, when you were first writing, did you have to go through that?
Oh, when I was first writing, I would write seed catalog copy if someone told me to, Susan.
There's a word for you, up-and-coming author.
Yeah.
New York is your home, but you once moved to Florida. You're not there anymore, are you?
No.
And what precipitated that, and what made you decide to go back to New York?
It's hard to remember why we thought it would be a good idea at the time. It wasn't right for us at all, as it turned out. It was a very, very nice place. We were on Fort Myers Beach, and there was a lot to like about it.
Was that a log cabin? Do you remember?
Well, sort of. It was a big house, but it was log cabin construction, yeah.
It sounded really unusual for a beach house.
It was. It looked, for all the world, like a hunting lodge from Michigan transplanted to the beach. But it was a fine house, and the happiest day in my life was the day I sold it.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. You enjoyed the demanding work of book tours, which some people, some writers, authors really do not like it. It's the thing they have to do, they need to do it, and it's good to get out and see their audience, but you really like it. What is it that you like about book tours? Because you're going, what, a city a day or sometimes 2?
Yes. And on this tour, of course, I'm driving myself around, so there's really not a whole lot of downtime when I'm not in front of people or doing some media. I'm behind the wheel. I enjoy the interaction with people. I enjoy also the wonderfully skewed perspective one gets on one's own importance in the world. Because you go stand up in a library somewhere, and there are 100 people who are eager to see you and think you're terrific. And you can lose sight of the fact that there are 600,000 other people in town who purposely stayed home because they don't give a damn about you.
Well, a little slice of humble pie never hurt anybody.
There you go.
Do you have more than one story in the works at one time?
One at the most.
Okay, because I always wonder
right now I don't have any. Yeah.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
You're not working on anything right now?
No.
Well, I'm not worried about you.
Okay.
All right, you've got a
And
really...
I won't worry either.
No, don't worry.
Okay.
You have a good-looking website, and you've got a bookstore on your website.
Yes.
What made you decide to do a bookstore on your website?
Oh, the same thing that made Bernie break into the house. Yeah, greed. Greed. I find it a powerful motivator.
Is it doing as well as you thought? Because I don't know if I would think that would be a good thing to do.
Well, I'm not sure that it's worth the trouble.
That's what I'm saying.
But we rather enjoy it, and I like the idea that copies of the books go to people who want them. Mm-hmm. Periodically when books are remaindered, I pick up a stock from the publisher and I have them to offer for sale. And
see, I think that's great, because then if someone wants one that's not in print, they can get
right.
it from you if you have it.
We also, there are some of my books get done in small printings and limited editions from small presses. Mm-hmm. And on those I take payment in copies instead of in cash, because it works out better. The small presses always have cash flow problems,
right.
so it works. And that way I sell those on the web.
That's nice. What is it about Dashiell Hammett and Raymond Chandler that make their work crucial to study if you're going to be a mystery writer? And is that even true? I'm making an assumption. That's what I've heard.
I'm not sure it's true. I think Hammett and Chandler are both giants in the field, and it would probably behoove someone to read the books, but I don't know that it's essential that way. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was just curious. Let's see. You start all your novels with a strong hook. That's the idea I got from reading what people have written about your books.
I see.
Is that a hard thing to do? Do you do it on the back end? Do you do it on the front end? Does it just come to you right away? Because I would think that would be one of the most difficult things about the book, is making sure it starts out with a good hook.
Well, one very useful piece of advice I got from an agent very early in my career. He read a book I turned in, and he said, put your second chapter first. Begin the book a little ways into the story.
Right.
And I did on that, and it improved that book. And since then I've made a point of writing, beginning the story a little further into it than the strict chronological order would dictate.
Are you good now at picking out what ought to go first, or do you count on someone else to do that?
No, well, I write it that way.
You write
I start off writing what.
That's how you know you've made it. You start off right.
I don't know.
I love it. Well, sadly, we're out of time. Thank you so much, Lawrence Block, for coming and for your book, Burglar on the Prowl, and for being with us today. And I'm Susan Gray, and this has been Book Talk. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
You're watching the Library Channel, a broadcast service of the Memphis Public Libraries and the City of Memphis.